lest we should have our share. Oh, needless, mad frustration. Oh, hell and foul damnation. The staring ribs of poverty. The world, I say, the world is well. The shops are full. They live to sell. We cannot live unless we buy with paper tokens. Why, oh, why must we be starved? The things are there, the power is there, the skill is there, the need, my God, the need is there. Oh, ledger-bound futility. Oh, screaming imbecility. The money is not there.
We have a few questions from the audience I have here, and perhaps we might just select one or two of those before we conclude the program. The one I'm looked at, which perhaps would appeal to you the most, and I don't know who's asked this, could you perhaps tell us what social credit is not?
In a nutshell.
Well, that sure is, because it's that is the question, isn't it? It's practically everything that's it's not, above all, I should say, it is not a plan or scheme or utopia. Social creditors haven't got an idea how other people should live, and we're not seeking power to impose it on them. There was a phase, say in Alberta, and there have been social credit parties which did seek such power, and it came to nothing. It's, on the whole, despite all the publicity, what happened in Alberta did expose what we're up against, but it confused people on the whole, because there are so many. We are not one of those innumerable movements that have a good idea and seek to shove it on everybody. But we do seek to remove the enormous burden of debt finance, which is an enormous moral burden on the whole community, on everybody. And then, if people are freed with that, from that, it's up to them. There certainly wouldn't be a utopia if we could, for instance, introduce a basic income, a national dividend for all, which would be one thing which would remove the enormous burden of debt. If it were done correctly, there'd be no utopia. People used to say you can't have money for nothing. They corrupt everybody, and then all they do is rush off and get drunk, and some of them would. But that's their choice. But in that sense, in seeking the decentralization of economic and political power, we're not trying to impose something else.
Could you tell us something of C.H. Douglas's earlier years?
Not very much, I'm sorry. No, he never expanded much. He was an engineer. He had various respectable engineering jobs in Canada and South America. He was, I think, general manager for Westinghouse in India at one time. Just before the war, he had an interesting job. Before World War I, this is, 1940. He was concerned with the building of the post office tube in London. Now, this is a tube that carries postal baggage from one part of London to another, to a great sorting house. And it is, I believe, the first working piece of automation in the world. I may be wrong, but now Douglas was not in charge of it, and many people have jeered and said, oh, you had a very minor part in it. He merely had to draw up the electrical specification and see that it was applied, carried out. And I remember some sarcastic young man trying to debunk Douglas, pointed out he wasn't the boss and he didn't organize the whole project. He merely drew up the electrical specification and see that it was carried out in practice too. He supervised the work. So, right from the start, he was in on automation. He knew what was coming. He knew the enormous power that technology could release.
The question to Elisabeth Dobbs.
Can I add to that one?
Yes, fine, yes, you can.
Before he, frivolous,
Yeah.
before he went in for ideas and social credit, he was very keen on dancing.
Douglas was.
Dancing.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I've heard that said that when he arrived in Perth, that some who had travelled on the date was a bit astonished at the great reception he got, and said that middle-aged chap that he spent all his time dancing with his wife. There's nothing wrong with that, I'm sure we'll agree. The question to you is your views on what is generally called the feminine, or the feminist movement and social credit.
Well, that's another big one. As Geoffrey said, what social credit would do would be to remove the financial, would make possible what was physically possible, put it that way. The national dividend would make it possible, for instance, for women either to stay at home or to go to work, or to do what it was physically possible for them to do. The trouble nowadays is that many women have no choice. They have to be feminists and go out to work to earn another wage. Some of them want to do it, but a great many of them don't want to do it. And at home, in our magazine, we consider that the highest profession there is bringing up the men and women of the future, the children. But it's up to people to choose, and they would choose under social credit.
Now we move to a slightly technical question. Could consumer price discounts help if there is free trade, enable Australia to import goods she already produces? We have a problem here at the moment with what's called a balance of payment problem, and we're importing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of food into this country, for example, if we could just as easily produce or reproduce ourselves. We applied...
Is this because you're being undercut, though?
Well, with our own...
By imported stuff?
Yeah.
In general, consumer a discounted price, provided it was correctly applied, would enable people to choose whether to buy the homegrown product or not. And if they buy the homegrown product, if they are enabled to buy the homegrown product at a price which will keep the homegrown, the home farmers alive and kicking, so to speak, if it was applied in that way,